One of the biggest things about my working career is that I realized that we spend about 98% of our time indoors, which is really sad. This is my little sanctuary. The main idea here was to live outdoors and indoors in almost indistinguishable fashion. I got a lot of action going on with the nests. There's one there. Oh, that's a beauty. That's gotten bigger. I came here 48 years ago when my aunt bought this place. There was a ramshackle, just practically a hut right here. This is the main house. I wanted to really recapture the indistinguishable border between indoors and outdoors that I had as a child in Ethiopia. Most of the days the doors are open and the breezes are going through, and you also have the sun and the trees there. And then if you look back here, we're facing a lovely grove of redwoods. I wanted to have literally an almost outdoor shower. These doors open, of course, on a hot day. You have these views. You can see that here again, you're indoors and outdoors at the same time. And whether you're in the bathtub or using the toilet or in the shower, you're constantly outdoors. Except you're not. I mean, you are and you aren't. This is about twice as big as what was here before. But that's my aunt's original little cottage that she lived in with her husband. She had this porch around here, and I wanted that wraparound porch, except the difference was I wanted to cover it so that it would be usable at all times. I didn't really have enough money to build a big place, and then so I said, okay, well, I'll just build a small place. And then I saved a little more money because I don't like to borrow money. So I saved a little more money and I said, well, now I have enough for another small place.
You didn't want to go into debt. That was your point.
No, debt scares me. The cabana is hidden in those trees over there. You can barely see it if you look carefully. But normally, the untrained eye won't pick it up. I wanted another small structure because they're cozy. I hate wasted space that people don't use. I mean, I've lived in those houses before where there's 1 or 2 or 3 rooms that nobody ever goes into for any reason. That's crazy. So I always wanted to live fully in the spots that I have, and my so-called main house is pretty small. Now these are even smaller. It's small enough to hide among the trees. The feature here is the land and the trees, not the houses. And when you're in a small house like this, nature is bigger and nature is more important.
The trees just dwarf this.
So the sides are redwood and the floors are bamboo. But the way it's turned out is that guests have their privacy. The idea is it's very compact and it's got a completely functioning bathroom in here. It just all kind of fits. It's comfortable enough. Yeah. That's a fold-out bed there. That's a really nice couch, and it folds out. Got a really lovely mechanism. It just opens up into a full queen-size bed with an excellent mattress. All you do is pull this, and right there. Nothing else to pull or push. And I have slept here a few times. So this is kind of cool. You got a little place to store your pillows over here.
You didn't have to push?
No. It's very light. It's just like it's really smooth. Just comes floating up.
Tell me about the fireplace. Yeah.
Well, it's the only fireplace I have that's a gas fireplace. Not everybody likes to fiddle with a country stove. They take a lot of work, and even starting the fire without smoking the place up. So I just thought that I would make it easy, and it has an on-off switch and a thermostat right on the wall. I had these shelves custom built for this space, including the workspace. What I told the architect was I want it to look 10 or 20 years old in a year, but I want it to last 100 years or more. Nothing's painted on the outside here. It's all raw wood. Yeah, sure, every couple of years I'll put some sealer or something on it to keep it from getting damaged, but nothing's painted on purpose. It's part of seeming like it's part of the property, right? It seems to fit better. This porch faces south, and it's nice and sunny here, and you can't see anything except what was here long before we existed.
Now, as a boy, did you dream about having a treehouse?
I don't recall having a treehouse dream as a boy. I grew up in Ethiopia. We had no television. What did we have? We had books and we had radio. I remember a lot of outdoor fantasies. So there's a bunch of wild turkeys running away. There's a tribe. This was here. I've put in a lot of new trees, but this was here in '65 when my aunt bought it. Many of them are very, very old. So these are the older trees. These guys are on their last legs, as you can see. But I tend not to take them down unless they die, and then eventually they keel over like that one on your left there. They just give up some days and say, all right, I'm lying down here, take me for firewood. I like to watch trees age. They seem to age a little more gracefully than people. I've planted trees every country I've lived in the world, and I go back and visit them. Even Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, I planted trees. Always plant a tree, or several. So here's the bottom, the southern end, Redwood Grove. I like the look and the feel. It's so quiet. It's like a cathedral, really, to me. I walk around here and I thought, you know, it would be really nice to have something very small, very humble, very hidden, very peaceful. At first it wasn't a tree house. And then I was walking around and looking at it and back and forth and imagining. And then I said, well, why don't I just raise it up? And that's how the treehouse idea was born. It is super fortified with these cross steel beams.
And that way you're not putting any foundation down. Because what would be the alternative?
Well, the alternative would have been to dig this giant hole and then put cement and steel mesh, you know, like you do for a normal building. But that would have really cut into the root systems of these trees. And we didn't want to do that. So I think the bed's been moved since you were here. I'm not positive. And the reason being, if you're here, you just have this feeling of being on the prow of a ship or something. And during a windstorm, you open your eyes and the trees are all moving around you, and yet you're safe and warm. And
It's a transporting thing to be up in the trees, isn't it?
to me, yeah. I've always been nuts about trees. I literally drive by trees on the road and I go, good tree, you hang in there. Or sometimes I'll see a tree in mild distress and I'll pull over in a public highway and, you know, trim it a little bit or clear something from its bottom. No, it's true, it's true. And here's all new trees, speaking of trees, because this part of the orchard was wrecked and I thought that'd be nice. And almost all of them survived.
You could have said, okay, I'm just going to build a huge home. And instead you've chosen to build these just small.
Not even a big, but something fundamentally diverse, as you say, from the surrounding.
I guess I always knew it, but when I read that, you know, normal, so-called normal urban people spend 96 to 98% indoors, and their outdoor experience basically means getting in and out of their cars. I mean, people up here all the time are driving around with all the windows up and the air conditioning on. Up here. You know, it just shows people get so divorced from, every now and then, you know, I have a real city person come up here and they like, oh, a spider web, and they want to get away from nature. They don't like dirt between their toes. So I'm going to put this out here. These are cool. I think they're made in Japan. They're really powerful. So the idea is that the camping stove will be down here, and then you can use this for rudimentary. I wouldn't say it's a great place to cook, but I mean, some people will figure it out. I remember early in my working days, I would just stare out the window saying, why am I'm on the wrong side of this window. I cannot really have a bad day if I'm outside. I don't care if it's raining, but I just can't feel bad outdoors.